Hear me. Hear the hush before a world breaks. God Valley sits folded between sea and cliff, like a wound the sky refuses to close. Today the wind tastes of iron and smoke. Gulls wheel and fall silent, as if afraid to witness what men will do. Ships crowd the cove like teeth. Banners snap and flutter, some with the iron grin of pirates, others with the white glare of the world government. Between them crawl figures with crowns of cruelty and children with dirt for prayers. This valley is not merely earth and stone. It is a stage for men who have learned to call darkness by a different name: destiny. Here the powerful come to preen, the proud to gamble, and the weak to be made spectacle. A tournament of contempt has been arranged, the hunter's game, the kind of carnival where a man's birthright is sold for amusement, and a child's scream is the evening's entertainment. And above it all, arrows begin to fall. They do not fall like simple weapons. They rattle through the air like a shower of constellations gone mad, a cold, deadly rain that writes its own dirge across the sky. Each feathered shaft is a punctuation in violence, a staccato beat that sets the pace of panic. In the thunder of their passage, there is a strange counterpoint, a tiny, defiant song, the thin cry of infants, the sound that will refuse to be swallowed by steel. The celestial dragons take their front row seats, robed in opulence, sipped by servitors, sipping life like wine. They point, they mock, they wager on people the way merchants wager on fish. Around them, the knights of God stand like statues of myth gone wrong, armor that grins with horns, helmets like nightmares, weapons forged to make mercy an obsolete word. Their presence is a blade that cuts any hope of fairness in two.
But not all who stand here are monsters. Hidden among the smoke and the roar, a different kind of heart beats. A young man with hair like storm clouds, eyes burning with something that has not yet been named, moves with quiet intention. Across the field, another man laughs as though the world itself is a song to be sung as loudly as possible. A monstrous shadow of a man who once dreamed of ruling stands proud and blind to the knife that will someday come from within his own camp. And old legends, men whose names will one day be carved into the sea, arrive like thunder following lightning. Listen closely, and you can hear the valley's music. The rattle of armor, the metallic chorus of blades, the low hum of ships' bells, and threaded through it all, that fragile, stubborn note of love. Love, in this hour, is not a soft thing. It is a shout. It is a cradle held against a storm. It is the length of a man's arms when he reaches out for another's life and refuses to let go. From on high, the celestial's cruelty comes down in gestures. A thrown dagger, a sneer tipped with venom, a decree that turns human blood into entertainment. Those who are branded, the Davy clan among them, are brought forward like animals. Mothers clutch children. Men stand with the cold, smallest dignity, while the nobles throw jibes like bones. The sky answers with a shower of arrows, and the valley answers with screams. But even in the deepest dark, light finds a crack. Small acts of mercy thread through the chaos like lanterns. A hand that steadies a child, a shield raised at the last possible moment, a knife that sings through air but misses by the width of a heartbeat. It is in these slivers, tiny, human, stubborn, that the true song of this chapter reveals itself. Not a hymn for empire, not an ode to conquest, but the ragged, imperfect ballad of those who choose another human life over their own safety.
As the first arrows find their marks, destiny begins to swirl. A man whose name will be remembered as a storm is seen standing where he ought not be. A grinning captain slices through ranks as if cutting the chorus line of fate. A king of cruelty laughs only moments before the blade of betrayal finds him. Ships collide, giants clash, old friends and new enemies are thrown into the same furnace and come out singing different anthems. And at the heart of this furnace, crying, warm, human, two infants lie on the edge of a world that would swallow them in its noise. Their song is but a note in the storm, but it will echo. It will bend men's wills, reshape loyalties, and one day be sung back as legend. The shower of arrows will pass, and from its hush will come acts of love that cut through the violence sharper than any blade. So open your ears, for this is not just carnage, it is the overture. These opening measures will name the rhythm that will shape generations. When the clamor fades, the echoes will still hold memory that on this day in God Valley, between the roar of titans, something fragile refused to be broken. The arrows fall like rain, their whistling tails screaming louder than any wind. And in the heart of that storm, Monkey D. Dragon runs. He is young, not yet the revolutionary whose name will terrify kings, not yet the father who will leave his son with a mark of destiny. Here, he is only a man with trembling arms, carrying two lives far too fragile for this cursed valley. The children cry against his chest, their small voices fighting to exist above the chaos. Dragon's teeth grit, his breath ragged. Around him pirates clash, slaves scatter, nobles laugh, and marines shout orders that crumble against the tide. Every step feels like defiance, every heartbeat a rebellion. Then, death arrives. A streak of light slices the air. A woman of the nights, her mouth twisted with fangs, levels her weapon at him. Her beam cuts closer, closer, an end he cannot outrun. Dragon turns, ready to take it, not because he wishes to die, but because there is nowhere left to go. His body curves instinctively around the infants, a shield of flesh and will. But destiny will not let him fall. With a roar like the cracking of the earth itself, Edward Newgate, Whitebeard, crashes into the scene. His blade swings, splitting the woman in two, the air trembling from the quake of his power. For a heartbeat, the world goes silent, as if even the arrows pause to watch. Dragon stumbles, alive only because a giant chose to stand before him. He looks at Whitebeard's back, a mountain, a savior, a man who wears the storm as if it were a cloak. And in that image, Dragon learns something unspoken. Power is not just for conquest. It can shield. It can save. But the valley has no patience for lessons. A scream draws Dragon's eyes to the far side of the battlefield, and he sees it. Rox D. Zebek, the so-called king of this gathering, betrayed by his own. Knives in the dark, treachery in the open. His roar rattles the sky, half fury, half disbelief. Dragon's gut twists. Even monsters devour their own. And if kings can fall to betrayal, what hope is left for the nameless? He tightens his hold on the infants. For them, he thinks, I will not falter. And then another quake. Not Whitebeard's this time, but a fist. Vice Admiral Garp crashes into the battlefield. Meteors of power exploding from his blows. Pirates scatter. Marines rally. The ground itself splits. Dragon freezes, watching the man who is both savior and executioner. The crowd calls it justice, but to Dragon's eyes, it looks no different from the cruelty he has been running from. His heart pounds, torn between awe and disgust. He cannot yet name it, but a seed has been planted, a seed that will one day grow into rebellion. For now, he runs again. The children still cry, but their song is enough. A song that says, life must be carried forward, no matter the storm.
Where Dragon runs, silent and heavy with duty, another man strides into the same storm with laughter booming like cannon fire. Gold D. Roger. His blade, Ace, gleams with every swing, carving arcs of light through the shadows. Where others grit teeth or cry out, Roger throws his head back and laughs, the sound wild and alive, as if war itself is a festival put on for his amusement. To him, the chaos of God Valley is not despair. It is challenge. It is song. Shocky, he roars, voice shaking the battlefield. Hold on, we're coming. Around him, the Raja pirates crash into the fray, not with hesitation, but with the unity of brothers and sisters. Rayleigh, his sword flashing, Gaban, fists like hammers. Others shouting, fighting, following the rhythm set by their captain's laughter. Even in the maelstrom, their bond feels unshakable.
Roger cuts down 3 Marines, pivots, and shouts to his crew, "She's ours to save! Don't let anyone else lay a hand on her!" But before he can surge ahead, his own Nakama overtake him, charging faster, fiercer, unwilling to let their captain risk himself alone. For a moment, Roger blinks in surprise. Then he laughs louder than ever. To be outrun by his own men in loyalty and love, that is the greatest treasure. The battlefield shifts. To one side, Roger sees Zebek, raging, betrayed by his own monsters. To the other, he sees Dragon running with the infants, fear etched on his face, but his resolve unbroken. And before him, justice itself, clad in fists of iron. Garp. When their eyes meet, there is no need for words. Rivalry is written in their blood, in the grin Roger wears and the glare Garp answers with. They are enemies here, but more than that, they are mirrors. Men who will shape the same world from opposite ends. Roger grins wider, raising Ace high. "Oi, Garp, don't hog all the fun!" Garp's meteor fist slams into the earth, blasting pirates aside, and Roger's laughter answers the explosion. For an instant, war looks like a game between gods.
But the laughter fades when his eyes catch a different scene. Rayleigh, his closest friend, charging through arrows and blades. The Silver King's strike cleaves through St. Summers, and Shaki, trembling and weeping, collapses into his arms. Relief crashes over Roger like a wave. He lowers Ace, his grin softening. "She's safe," he whispers, voice swallowed by the roar around him. Then louder to his men, "We've got her back! Protect her with your lives!"
In that moment, Roger feels something deeper than victory. Treasure is not gold. Treasure is not crowns. Treasure is a comrade pulled from the jaws of death, safe again among family. As the arrows continued to fall, Roger stands tall, laughter returning to his lips, not mocking, not reckless, but full of the joy of living, of protecting, of choosing love in a world that spits on it.
The sky above God Valley darkened, as if clouds fear him. Rock's DX Zebek stands tall, a silhouette of ambition, a storm given form. He has commanded the seas, bent monsters to his will, and thought himself untouchable. Here, among pirates and celestials alike, he is a god. But gods are fragile in the face of betrayal. He sees it too late. The knives strike, not from enemies, but from those he raised, those he trusted. Kaido, Big Mom, even the monsters he called comrades. They pierce his armor of certainty with treachery sharper than any sword. Rage tears through him, a hurricane made flesh. His roar shakes the mountains, a sound that makes the birds flee and the sea itself recoil. You dare! His voice is a jagged blade. I forged you. I made you. You are mine. The battlefield collapses around him. Pirates scatter at the shock of his fury. Marines falter, unsure whether to fear him or flee. Arrows, swords, fists, none touch him, and yet every betrayal cuts deeper than steel.
Hexabek's eyes blaze with madness. He swings his arms, summoning the monsters of the valley to his side, a final wall of power and terror. Lightning cracks across the sky, and even the ground quakes at his command. This is no longer a battlefield. It is the heart of chaos itself, pulsating with his rage. And yet, even in his monstrous fury, death finds him. A knife slides past armor, a bite of betrayal that no strength can undo. His chest heaves, his laughter twisting into a scream that is both defiance and despair. He falls, but not quietly. His body crashes, dust and stone rising in clouds like mourning for a god. The sky itself seems to mourn, and still, even in this final moment, Hexabek's mind spins with visions of domination, the world ruled in his image, vengeance against those who betrayed him. Even death cannot silence that ambition. For those who watch, pirates, marines, and innocents alike, the lesson is clear. Power untempered by loyalty, ambition unrestrained by compassion, becomes its own cage. And in that cage, even a king will writhe and scream, terrifying and monstrous, until the very last breath. But the valley does not pause. Arrows still fall, ships still clash, lives still hang by threads. The world moves onward, carrying with it the echoes of Zebek's wrath, a storm never truly quelled. The valley shakes. The wind carries the taste of smoke, blood, and iron. Arrows whistle like dying stars, and the roar of battle is a symphony of chaos. Dragon stumbles forward, infants clutched to his chest. Each step is a prayer, each breath a vow. I will not let them die. His eyes dart, calculating paths between flying weapons, falling debris, and collapsing figures. Every heartbeat counts, every movement matters. Above him, Roger bursts through the storm with laughter, cutting a swath through pirates and marines alike. Ace arcs, striking down foes before they can strike a child, before cruelty can touch the innocent. He watches Dragon for a moment, noting the boy with fire in his chest, a resolve that mirrors his own. A silent nod passes between them. We fight for life here, not for glory. But the earth itself announces its judgment. A titanic shadow falls from the cliffs. Garp, fist poised like a meteor, descends with unstoppable force. The ground cracks beneath his impact, sending waves of power outward. Rocks splinter, ships heave, and even the storm seems to pause in fear.
Dragon freezes. His pulse races. The infants tremble in his arms. Can this force save them, or will it crush all? Roger grins, adrenaline singing in his veins. "Oi, Garp, don't crush the fun," he shouts, though even he knows the joke is futile. He swings Ace, deflecting debris, propelling himself forward to protect both Dragon and the children from the unpredictable sweep of the meteor's impact. Xebec screams, fury unchained, his monstrous form rising again, flanked by Kaido and Big Mom in fractured allegiance. Betrayal has scarred him, but rage fuels a final surge of terror. He lunges at the infants, at Dragon, at anything that challenges his will to dominate. The valley becomes a storm within a storm. Fire, steel, fists, and blood weaving an intricate, chaotic ballet. The impact lands. Garp's fist smashes into the center of the battlefield, sending shockwaves that throw friend and foe alike into the air. Trees snap, rocks explode, and the rain of arrows is redirected by the tremor. Dragon shields the infants with his body. Roger vaults over debris to intercept foes. Xebec roars and swings, fighting both the tide of betrayal and the force of Garp's strike. Time stretches. For a moment, the world is frozen in the eye of the storm. Dragon sees the infant's tiny hands clutch his coat. Roger sees Shoki's trembling form finally free from the monsters of the battlefield. Xebec sees his kingdom collapse, his power meaningless against the unstoppable hand of justice.
Then the storm roars back to life. Arrows rain, swords clash, fists pound. Dragon makes his move, diving towards safety with the children. Roger shields allies, cutting a path through enemies like a living blade of fire. Xebec, screaming defiance, is thrown backward by Garp's second strike, crashing into the valley floor, dust and blood rising in clouds. And above it all, a single truth becomes clear. This valley is no mere battlefield. It is a crucible. Legends are being forged in the fire of chaos, in the defiance of the innocent, in the laughter of the free, and in the screams of the fallen. Dragon's eyes burn with a promise. One day, the weak will rise, and cruelty will answer for its crimes. Roger laughs, voice echoing over the battlefield, a declaration that joy and love can exist even in the storm of war. Xebec screams, rage consuming him, a warning that ambition without loyalty becomes its own cage. The valley quakes once more. Smoke, fire, and shadows swirl, as if the world itself bends to witness the clash of titans. And in the chaos, the song of love, fragile, defiant, unyielding, cuts through the storm like a blade, marking the fate of all who survive.
The storm fades, but only slightly. Smoke rises in ribbons, dust settles on broken earth, and the echo of clashing titans lingers like thunder in the bones of the valley. God Valley is no longer the same. It bears scars that will outlast the living. Dragon kneels for a moment, chest heaving. The infants shiver in his arms, their cries now soft, almost musical against the distant rumble of the battlefield. His gaze sweeps the valley. He sees friends and enemies alike strewn across the ground, some moving, some still. A grim smile crosses his lips. The weight of the future presses on him, and he feels its call. Today, life was saved. Tomorrow, revolution will rise. Roger stands atop a broken ship, Ace resting at his side. His laughter is quieter now, but it still carries a victory, not for power, but for love and loyalty. Shocky clings to him, eyes wide but safe at last. The crew gathers, battered but alive. Roger surveys the valley, knowing that the tides of history have shifted beneath his feet. Legends are being born here in blood and fire, and he is both witness and participant. Sebek, monstrous and betrayed, lies partially crumpled among shattered rocks. His rage still burns, but it is impotent, redirected by treachery and the force of titans he underestimated. Even in his downfall, his ambition leaves a mark, a warning to the world that unchecked power consumes all, including itself. His scream fades into the valley's wind, becoming one with the echoes of a battle that will never be forgotten. The sun dips behind jagged cliffs, casting long shadows that stretch across the battlefield. Ships drift in smoke, torn banners hang limp, and the survivors, heroes, villains, innocents, all carry the memory of this day. God Valley has witnessed cruelty, courage, laughter, and love in equal measure. It has sculpted the beginning of legends, men who will shape the seas, children who will inherit its tides, and monsters who will haunt the world with their fury.
And yet the final note of the chapter rings out, fragile but unbroken. The song of love that survived the shower of arrows whispers on the wind. It will guide some, warn others, and remind all who live to remember this day. A hush falls, not peace, but anticipation. The story is far from over. From this crucible, destinies will rise, revolutionary hearts, pirate kings, and the shadows of those who were undone. The world will never forget the storm that tore through God Valley, nor the choices made amid its chaos. The camera would pull back in cinematic fashion. The valley sprawled like a battlefield painting, arrows sticking in the earth, fires still smoldering, legends staring at the horizon. And as the wind carries the faint, defiant cries of the saved infants, the narration concludes. This was not merely a battle. This was a beginning, a storm that shaped an era. And those who survived would carry its song in heart and in blood across the seas forever.